we are kind of taught to chase life. It's over there. I can just get there, and if I can do it quickly.
Yeah.
And I think, if anything, great love and great suffering have taught me there is no there, there's only here. While we're suffering, beauty is nearby. Light and dark are always near each other. And it's not about extinguishing the dark. It's about allowing the dark to become more filled with light. The practice of being human and having functional faith is to feel the beauty and the pain. One of the paradoxes is that grief and joy live side by side. There's no shortage of the things that open the gate of transformation. In that regard, every generation, it's our turn. What will it be for you, and how will you face it alone and together?
The subjective experiences we have, that is up to us, because we all interpret it differently based on the lens we're viewing life through.
Hello and welcome. I'm Seline and this is the Dreamcatcher Podcast, a space for thoughtful, unhurried conversations about how we live and what truly matters. I am really glad you're here.
Many of us move through life chasing the next milestone, yet feel subtly unsettled in the present. Even when things look fine on the surface, there's often a sense that something essential is missing. My guest today is Mark Nepo, who brings a reflective and poetic perspective to navigating change, loss, and the passage of time. Mark is a New York Times bestselling author, poet, and philosopher who has spent over 4 decades writing and teaching about the human experience. A cancer survivor, his work is grounded in lived experience, and he is widely known for the Book of Awakening. In this conversation, we explore his latest book, The Fifth Season, and what it means to move through life's turning points with greater awareness, let go of what no longer serves us, and reconnect with a deeper sense of presence. If you ever felt caught between where you are and where you think you should be, or wondered how to navigate change with more clarity, this is an episode I'm sure that you'll appreciate. Mark, it is so lovely to have you back on the show. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, and it's wonderful to be with you again.
Yeah. I mean, I've always said that you're one of my favorite writers because of the way that you use words to craft meaning in such a powerful and poetic way. And, it doesn't just land intellectually, it really stays with you. And when I read The Fifth Season, which is your latest book, what stood out was your invitation to see change, aging, and loss, not as something to resist, but as something that reveals what truly matters. I think this insight is much needed in moments of uncertainty and transition. Personally, I think this book came at the right time for me, where I've been contemplating loss and change, and I was feeling kind of blue about it. But reading your book really helped me reframe everything that's been going on. So I'm really looking forward to exploring these ideas with you today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I think one of the things is that that's so important is that, of course, change, loss, things that break us open, they're difficult, and we have to face, it's one journey to experience grief and loss and pain and help each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and when we can stay with it till we can see how we're being rearranged and strengthened, that's a coinciding process. It's not that, it doesn't make all the loss okay. It doesn't mean that, cheer up because it's going to change you no. we have to stay. The human journey involves feeling what is ours to feel and staying open to how life is shaping us.
Yeah. I mean, now I'm in my early 40s, and by the time you get to this age, you've experienced loss. You've experienced like the different landscapes of life, and you see how things are constantly shifting. And I think you have to learn to be open to it. You know, you can't resist it. It's just inevitable.
Yeah, I think that life has been made just difficult enough that we need each other
Yes, we do.
to ensure the journey of love.
But your work, Mark, has always prompted us to look inward and to really search within ourselves. But this new book feels especially personal. I mean, you described the fifth season as a time of integration and late light. As someone now who's living in the fifth season, how are you personally experiencing it right now?
Oh, well, I believe that, and so much of it is in the book, what I've been learning, which is not just particular to me. I think these are things that everyone learns. I just turned last month 75. When I met someone this age when I was younger, I thought they were ancient.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem so old now.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I think, I'm experiencing it by being deepened more and more into how precious every day is,
Mm,
to how being soft and vulnerable is actually one of our greatest strengths, to even more belief in the strength of our heart, which is our most sensitive instrument and strongest muscle. And I think I'm well now, but about almost a year and a half ago, I had major back surgery, and thankfully I'm pain free. It really worked well. I'm on the other side. Um, but that was my latest journey in being broken open and um, experiencing chronic pain, which I had never had before. So my heart goes out, my compassion for people who are in chronic pain, who I was blessed to find a way out of it.
mhm.
Um, but oh my God, there were months when I couldn't do anything. I couldn't put my socks on. I couldn't, you know, take a shower by myself. I couldn't. Um, and so while I am, a centered person, I think I move pretty slowly and calmly. Well, I was forced to really move slow. I was forced to realize that we need to let beauty in while we're suffering, that beauty is part of the medicine. I was forced to realize and confirm, which I've felt for a long time, that, the old saying or question, is the glass half full or half
Mhm.
empty? Well, that's a useless question. It's always both.
Yeah.
And the practice of being human and having functional faith is to navigate both, hold both, feel the beauty and the pain. One of the uh, great paradoxes is that, um, is that grief and joy live side by side. You know, it's
Can you say
not
more
like we have.
about that, please?
Yeah. So, you know, there's a moment. This is maybe 15 years ago now, but where my wife Susan and I went through a period of about year and a half of, oh, we lost both of my parents, her mother, our beloved dog Mira, and a mentor of mine, all within this period. And we were just thrown into this deep grief. And And I was sitting here at home. It was in the summer, and I was on our deck in the backyard, and it was a beautiful day. And I just fell into that chasm of grief, but the day was still beautiful. And not through any wisdom on my part, because I was too exhausted to choose one or the other. I felt both. I felt that how sad I was, and yet everything was so beautiful. And and so what I feel part of what life does to us and what aging does to us, one or the other or both, is it asks us to enlarge our heart, to let everything in,
Mm.
to let everything in. And while grief or joy or pain or beauty, one might be in the foreground or the background, our heart is large enough to hold, not to choose, but to hold both. Let them speak to each other. Let them both shape us until the deeper logic of the spirit is released through our heart.
Mm.
So even when we're suffering, it's
Yeah.
not about, oh, cheer up, oh, be positive. No, but while we're suffering, um, beauty is nearby. While light and dark are always near each other, and
Mm.
it's not about extinguishing the dark. It's about allowing the dark to become more filled with light.
Yeah, and I don't think many people can really sit with that. They don't want to sit in the pain. They don't want to feel the darkness sort of infuse their life. They just run away, they numb themselves. And I think it takes a level of spiritual maturity to be able to hold space for it.
Well, and I think that this is where we have to have compassion for ourselves and others. Is that of course we don't want to feel these things if they're difficult. However, whether we acknowledge them or run from them, we still feel them. No, we think we run away from them. No, we don't. They're with us
Mhm.
wherever we go.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
there's a running from suffering is an
Yeah.
added level of suffering.
Mm.
And sooner or later we feel it. Uh, and I think that, if we don't face it, it comes out sideways.
Yeah.
Um, this
Yeah.
is where sadness and hurt, um, if not faced, can come out sideways as anger or
Yeah.
even violence. And there's an old Roman saying that goes, "The fates lead those who are willing; those who are not, they drag." So we're going one way or the other, and it's not to judge ourselves. We struggle, and then we say, "Oh, I guess I need to face this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too hard. Can you help me?"
What you're saying is it's going to manifest in some way or another. Like over time,
Yeah.
it's going to show up in some way, whether that's in your body or a certain behavior or a certain pattern, unhealthy pattern that is not working for you. Yeah.
And let me be clear that it isn't to deify suffering. It's more like,
Yeah.
gravity. You can't escape gravity, and nature erodes. Well,
Mm.
the suffering that comes from the friction of life is like it's like emotional gravity. No one can avoid it.
Yeah.
And when we hurt each other knowingly, that's unnecessary. That's um, to hurt someone and know that it's hurtful
Hmm.
is evil.
Yeah.
That's evil. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to the fifth season and how we can deal with it, I want to talk about how people who are younger are dealing with something similar. I mean, in the book, you speak about the second half of life, but a lot of my listeners are in their 20s, their 30s,
Hmm.
their 40s. But they're facing uncertainty, burnout, identity shifts. Do you feel like they're all entering their own versions of the fifth season? Perhaps
Absolutely.
perhaps earlier now, because it can come up as emotional or existential turning points in their lives. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Yeah. So though the occasion for the book is the continent of aging, since I'm in that now, but
Yeah.
just like illness or, you know, things that are difficult, they're not separate journeys from the rest of life. They simply bring into relief
Mm,
choices and passages we all go through throughout all of our lives. So a lot of what I discovered in the fifth season is useful and applicable no matter what age you are.
yeah.
When I did the audiobook for this,
Yeah.
I had a young producer working with me for the whole thing, a
Yeah.
wonderful woman, Gina, who is 30 actually. And halfway through, I stopped and asked her, I said, well, how is all this sitting with you? And she wisely said, a lot of this feels like it really speaks to me because, she said it doesn't matter. You're always aging, whether from 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80. So, you're always going through that process. And I think every generation has its catalysts and its difficult transitions that challenge us to live authentically, to realize we are each other, to realize we're more together than alone, that there is more that will fill us by giving than receiving, or giving by taking, and and these things are always. For me, like everyone will have the opportunity to be dropped into the depth of life. For me in my 30s, it was cancer. But
Yeah.
it can be something wonderful too. It can be beauty, love, surprise, wonder, being loved unconditionally for the first time. You
Mm,
know, it just happened to be cancer for me. So, I look at your generation and the generation behind you, and so many people, what cancer was for me, so many people who survived mass shootings at schools,
yeah.
that was that for them.
COVID,
So many
the pandemic.
COVID.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's no shortage of the things that open the gate of transformation.
Mm,
And in that regard, you know, every generation, it's our turn. It's our turn. What will it be for you, and how will you face it alone and together?
mm,
You know, the wonderful story about grief in the life of Buddha is a mother had lost her daughter, and she was just devastated. And she went to Buddha, who she heard was this wise, enlightened being, and said, "Please, can you bring her back?" And he took her hand and he said, "If you can find one person on earth who hasn't experienced loss, I will bring her back." And so she went trying to find that. Of course, she couldn't.
she couldn't.
And
Oh.
then she came back in her tears and she said to Buddha, "Can you teach me how to live with this?"
Mm,
And that's the journey we all accompany each other on. Life is so precious. I think um, we we are, especially in our modern world, more than ever, we are kind of taught to chase life. It's over
yeah.
there. If I can just get there,
Yeah.
if I can find that, and if I can do it quickly.
Yeah.
And I think, if anything, great love and great suffering have taught me there is no there, there's only here.
Yeah. Yeah. You do talk
And
about cultivating presence and widening our horizons as opposed to like fixating on what's coming up or even fixating on the past.
yeah, yeah. And I think that, one of the things that I'm learning from aging, which again applies throughout life, no matter where you are, is the proper use of memory and dream.
Mm.
So, first let me share how I come to that being 75. Thankfully, again, I'm healthy. I'm shooting
Yeah.
for 100. Who knows?
We're
Um,
cheering for you, Mark.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But even if I make it to 100,
Yeah.
there's more years behind than ahead. So
Yeah.
how are we supposed to hold that? Well, it doesn't mean that, certainly, oh, that means in time I'm going to die, we're all going to die, and there's fear and all. But once we can settle into that presence that connects us to everything, it doesn't mean we stop dreaming. And it
Hmm.
doesn't mean we stop learning from the moments of aliveness we've had. So, you know, we can go back, a lot of people as they get older review their lives,
Mm.
or even, someone in their 40s or their 30s can look back, if they're hitting a difficult time, can look back and go, oh, gee, that was a time. It was so much better then. Well, that's nostalgia. Nostalgia
Yeah.
is wanting to go back to something that was, as if that will rescue us from our lives now. And what I've learned is and there's nothing wrong with nostalgia. I can remember a wonderful time. If we're lifelong, you and I can remember. Wasn't that a wonderful thing? We remember that time, yeah, but not to escape
Yeah.
the need to find love and joy and presence where we are. So what's the proper use of memory? Well, I think it's to go back, let's say, to that time, because that thread of aliveness hasn't gone anywhere. It's still in me now. So
Mm.
can I touch into how it appeared then so I can find where it is in me now? So
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
memory, the true function of memory helps us
Mm.
bring ourselves alive now.
Yeah.
And the same thing with dream. So, okay, a lot
Mm.
of times we dream, and, really, dreams are just guesses. But
Mhm.
we tend in our modern world to fixate. Well, I have this dream. Now it's carved in granite. And if I don't reach it, I'm a failure. Well, no, it's a guess. It's a place where we go forward and we put out our best self so we can see what's possible.
Mhm.
But again, even though I'm 75, I can have dreams and but again,
Yeah.
like the memory, I go, oh, that's there, but okay, where is that alive in me now? So both dream and memory
Yeah.
help us come alive where we are now.
Yeah. Just to clarify, you're talking about aspirational dreams, not the dreams that we have at night.
Right.
Okay.
Aspirational dreams.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And one thing else about aspirational dreams is, which I've learned throughout my life, and this is a wonderful, you know, most dreams that we aspire to don't come true as we imagine them.
Hmm.
And that doesn't mean we're a failure. And I think we need to give our all, because even if they don't come true the way we imagine,
Yeah.
in giving our all, sometimes we come true, and that's more important.
Okay. Yeah. So what you're saying is that being okay even in the face of failure and we don't really achieve that, we still get something from the
Well,
process.
I wouldn't even call it failure,
Okay.
just not what we imagine,
Not what we
not how we intended. See,
right.
just because we envision it, I've learned that our dreams are kindling for the fire of our aliveness. And often we discover en route something we didn't even imagine. So, this is why I'm blessed to be prolific. This is my 27th book, more than I ever imagined if you asked me when I was your age. Not even on the screen, okay? But part of that, there's two reasons I think for that in my devotion is one is Not one book I started is the book I finished.
Mm-hmm.
I needed a dream of it, an outline of it, an imagination for it. But I learned very quickly that, like throwing wood on a fire, is burned up so that I can discover the true fire of its aliveness and allow it to grow so that my
Mm.
intentions, so if I don't arrive where I thought I was going, that's not a failure. That means life is dynamic and beyond what I can imagine. And I need to inhabit it, not make it happen.
Yeah, I'm just,
Inhabit it,
yeah.
not make it happen. And the other reason I've been blessed to be prolific is that this is how I learn. I don't write books to tell you things I learned. I write them because I'm exploring what I need to know. If I had, so I'm always, if I had only written about what I know, I would have written very little.
I'm sitting with everything that you just shared. It's so many beautiful metaphors and expressions kindling the fire of
Our aliveness.
aliveness.
So
I love that.
I think the soul, or whatever
Yeah.
we want to call that part of spirit, universal spirit that's in us,
Yes.
it just wants to be as alive as possible. And the same way you throw wood on a fire to keep it
Mm.
burning, the fire doesn't care whether you put pine or elm or oak on it. You just need, and I think the soul just wants us to throw care on the fire of our aliveness. It could be, your dream could be to be a stamp collector or a gardener or to take care of orphans or to, you know, we need to be fully alive to inhabit the greatness of life more than to try to be great.
Mm. Wow.
And so this is how we, by giving our all, by holding nothing back,
Mm.
we become true. True, not great. And
Yeah.
and so this is, and so to bring it back to like we were saying with our world today and how difficult and and these things have gone on forever, but it's more acute in our age because I think so many people have lost their direct connection to life.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
this is made worse by this perfect storm of social media, of
Hmm.
the internet, from the pandemic. Um, and so let me talk a little bit and so every tradition, formal and informal, has beliefs and practices that try to restore and maintain our direct connection with life. Why? Because if you have a direct connection with life, you have reverence for life. And if you have reverence for life, you can do no harm. It's only when we're disconnected from life that we strike out of fear, out of not feeling. And then we still have the need to feel. So what do? We poke things. We stir things up. We seek intensity instead of meaning. So, you know, here we are, and I'll give you an example. My father, who's gone now about 15 years, but when I grew up, you know, we he was a high school teacher, he was a master woodworker, and but we never traveled. He never went anywhere. So he subscribed to National Geographic because he loved the pictures, see places in the world he'd never go. Well, now you or we can Google in a second, and I can be over the shoulder on a video of someone climbing Mount Everest.
Right.
Well, that's great. I'm never going to go to Mount Everest, but I didn't make the climb.
Yeah.
And so much of what's the insulation of what's happening today, especially with people in your generation and younger, is we see these intermediary experiences and we think we've lived them. Oh, I did that. No, you didn't.
Vicariously live through.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't make the climb. I'm
Mm.
glad I can look at it, but I need to know that I didn't. That's not a substitute for living. And the
Mm.
same thing, is happening. So yeah, we witness things, we look at things, even
Hmm.
when we participate, uh, reality TV.
Yeah.
We think we're getting connected. We can even vote. So we put all of our relational energy hoping
Yeah.
for connection,
Yeah.
and then we turn off the TV and we've expended that energy and we're still alone.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the upcoming launch of my new book titled The Nomadic Soul, a seeker's guide to finding a sense of self and belonging in the modern world, which highlights a profound yet often unexplored part of your identity that holds the key to everything from answering your biggest questions to finding deeper meaning and joy in everyday life. Visit thenomadicsoulbook.com to learn more, download a free chapter, or to buy a copy. In the book, you suggest that another way that we can access that aliveness is through creativity, and you describe it
Yeah.
as an activity, not something that we produce, but as something that we live. So, Mark, building on that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we can reconnect with creativity, especially, if we're jaded, if we're disconnected, or if we're just stuck in routine, comparison, and
Yeah.
things like that. Um, how do we do that? How do we find that passage to
Yeah. So
our
thank you.
creative
So
self?
first, let me just clarify that I think that when I talk about creativity in the second half of life, as you know, I am talking about that our life is the work of art. It's,
Okay.
it's not just about, oh, I'm retired or I have more time, then I can paint more or
Yeah,
write more.
yeah. Okay.
Maybe, but that's again, it's about the fire of our aliveness. What by engaging ourselves wholeheartedly in anything, we
Mm,
come more alive. So how the first step to inhabiting our lives by being creative, by being devoted to our life as a work of art, is to stay open, wholehearted, present, hold nothing back. And these are practices for any time of life that seems simple, but the time that I need to be open is when I'm closed. The
yeah,
time that I need to be wholehearted is when I'm hesitant.
yeah.
So, when I'm troubled or confused or afraid, because these are human things, nobody's exempt from them, no matter how much you know. I always try to give my whole heart's attention to the nearest piece of life. It could be a fly on the window. To give my whole heart's attention to the nearest piece of life until it becomes my teacher. Because there's a teacher in everything. There's a wonderful Hindu phrase, upa guru, which means the teacher that is next to you at this moment. There's
Mm,
always a teacher next to us if we look for what's there more than what we're looking for, which means, and it means dropping our agenda. So even, which I've learned, one way, if you're stuck, if you're troubled, if you're giving opens everything. And I
mm,
learned this quite simply. I was struggling. I don't even remember what it was, but I had some kind of problem and I was struggling and I couldn't, it was difficult. And then a friend called and needed me. And so I dropped everything. I went to help. And when I came back to my problem, I realized I could see and think more clearly. More possibilities were seeable. Not because thinking can only take us so far. Because I had dropped everything and gave, it opened me up more.
yeah. Do you think your consciousness was expanded?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. So, this ties in again that our we're being asked at every step, and this is kind of a law of spiritual physics. Newton's third law of
Mhm.
gravity, of motion is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Well,
Right.
I think a corollary to that, and this is my dear, dear oldest friend, Robert Mason, he's a poet. He had this insight that life presents itself in direct proportion to how much we lean in. So this is another thing is, because we're so insulated today, because we think we made the climb, because we're looking through screens and not stepping into life, we look at something and go, there's nothing there. Why bother? Well, it's because we didn't lean in. You take a step, life meets you. You take two steps, life meets you. So involves risking being present, risking our heart, risking leaning in and holding nothing back. And then life shows up. And then we go, oh my God, I had no idea.
Wow.
So it's like you can sit by a river and watch it and go, well, oh yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's not fresh. Well, put your hand in it.
Yeah. Immerse yourself in it, right?
Immerse yourself in it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes. So I think the key, let's use that. The key to letting our creativity be our teacher is to immerse ourselves, And I'm not sure if it's in this book or another book, but this was something I learned inadvertently from my father. I said he was a master woodworker and he loved the sea, and he had built a 30-foot ketch that I spent a lot of my youth on.
Mhm.
But when he was your age, he was one of the things that he got into creating were what were called half models. He would get blueprints for sailing ships from the 1800s, and then he would make models that were like 3 feet, 4 feet to
Yeah.
scale in detail, but they were called half models because they were flat on one side so you could mount them on a wall when they were
Mm.
done. But I remember being a kid, 11, 10, 11,
Mhm.
in our little home on Long Island, and there were see-through stairs to the basement where he worked, and he didn't know I was watching, and I was watching through the stairs, and he was working on one of these with tweezers, setting rigging, a fine thread into this half model. And he never talked. I learned more by watching him. He never really talked about these things. And I realized years later, he was teaching me about the secret life of detail.
Mm.
I'd never seen anyone so immersed.
Yeah.
And so this brought to me years later the difference between immersion and excellence.
Mm.
The reward for immersion is the experience of oneness, is the experience of aliveness. Our life becomes the work of art. And if you're wholeheartedly immersed, you'll do good work. The
Yeah.
way that a flame will give off heat, it doesn't work to give off heat.
It
That's what it
doesn't.
does.
It's just that, yeah.
So it's about immersion, not excellent. I can try to be excellent, but if I'm not immersed, it might be good details, but there'll be no magic there.
Yeah. It seems like you were in this crucible during your younger years where you had that space to observe, to contemplate. I'm sure it was quieter out there. Um, and I think that probably helps you be attuned to the details. And I think the younger generation do not have that anymore because of all the noise caused by technology, social media. So, how can we sort of create those spaces where we can slow down, where we can actually get more rooted in our
So
being.
this, yeah, I think it is more difficult in our modern world. And this is the lifelong practices of the meditation traditions, all kinds of traditions speak about the courage to be still so that space opens up. The
Mm,
courage to be still. So it starts by a momentary stillness. You know, like you brush your teeth every day, you don't think about it.
yeah.
So we need to practice being still, even if it's for 2 minutes,
Yes.
even if it's for 3 minutes, so we can receive what's below the noise. So we can start to feel presence. So we can start to root our direct experience of life
Yeah.
and not just bounce around like a ball in a pinball machine. You know, there's a great insight by Viktor Frankl
Mm,
and his great book, Man's Search for Meaning. And
yeah.
he grew up, he was
Beautiful
in the
book.
Holocaust.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for folks who are listening, you know, he was survived being in a concentration camp. And this insight of his, he said that between stimulus and response is the only moment we're truly free.
Between students.
So the
Okay.
noise pokes us and we react. The noise, you know, fear pokes us and we react.
Yeah.
We're getting poked all the time on social media to get angry, to stir, to this, to, you know, and we need to, all of our practices, our direct connection to life, again, little steps. Put down the phone, to turn away from the screen and broaden and deepen the space between stimulus and response, between how we're poked and how we react. Because now then we start to develop the practice. I have real choices. And I'll give you an example for me of this. You know, back when 9/11 happened,
Mm,
and oh my God, you know, it was devastating to everyone. And
yeah.
my wife and I, Susan, we were actually in Montreal with
Mm,
friends on a vacation weekend. We were about to come home, packing our bags, and we had the morning news on, and we saw the
yeah.
planes live go into the towers. Well, oh my God, you know. So, but of course, by the time we got home and in the months that followed, that image was replayed thousands of
Those
times.
times. Yeah.
Stimulus response. Oh, now the only value for 24/7 news, if it's played 100 times, the only value is if 100 people get to see it once. I don't need to see it 100 times
Yeah.
because that not only does it traumatize and numb me, and of course, just like you're saying, the noise keeps coming. It doesn't stop. So this is something, the courage is no. If I see it and feel it once, I need to turn it off
Yeah.
because now I have it in my heart. I don't want to lose what it means. I don't want to lose the horror of it. So I don't lose what human beings can do to human beings. And I don't want to be a part of that. But when I see it 110 times and 120 times, oh yeah, that's 9/11. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was terrible. Yeah. So how do we, you know, and we have to personalize widening and deepening, even in the simplest things, you know, even in our own daily lives, how we get triggered. Someone cuts us off on the road. Ah! What can we, and even when our response is justified, we can't do any good if we just react. So, how do we start practicing broadening and deepening? And again, so what is this in our modern world? And this affects people, especially also people, not only young people, but people who are aging and become insulated because they've lost their jobs, their families are off living, and all
Yeah.
they're doing is watching TV or being on their screens. we have developed what I call screen mentality. And that is that the danger that's starting to happen is, I'm watching on a screen. Now I'm doing more things than once. Click, 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 click. And now the danger is I start experiencing reality with screen mentality when I'm not on a screen. So when I go in the grocery store and I come out, and as I'm going to my car, and a woman trips and drops her groceries, skins her knee, and I go, oh, that's sad. Click.
Yeah.
And I get in my car. Click. No,
Yeah.
no, she's 6 feet from me. I can go help her up. This is
Yeah.
real.
Yeah,
This
I
is
just sorry to
real.
interrupt you, but I suddenly
Yeah,
what came
no,
to
sure,
mind
sure.
was that girl who got murdered in the train that I believe she
Oh,
was
yeah.
Ukrainian, and you could see like the other passengers, the bystanders, they were just there, they were just looking at her. Nobody, at least in the frame at that moment, nobody got up and asked her how if she was okay. That was shocking to me.
Well, and this goes back to in America, January 6th, that insurrection. And what shot, and saw that like so many people live on TV. And what was really horrific to me, which helped me better understand this as such a problem in our world, here were people being violent and barbaric,
Mm,
and they were taking selfies of themselves as if it were, as if they didn't know if it was real or not. Or was it a reality game, or was this act? That's how severed. That's why it's so important to, at whatever age, widen and broaden the depth of that space between stimulus and response so we can practice being present, we can restore our direct connection. And these things, we can do a little thing at a time. The word trust literally means follow your heart. So when you're on your way somewhere, when something touches you, stop and follow it. The light, I remember years ago, I was in New York and I had a meeting with my editor at a publishing place, a house, and the subways were, it was late. I missed the subway. I was late. And I was walking and along this street, Midtown Manhattan, and between a bodega and another store in a little alley, it was spring, there was a pigeon nibbling on like part of a hamburger bun. And as I walked by, the light on it, it just was like shimmer, like it made this little pigeon and this little crumbs shimmer. It was brilliant. It was amazing. As if it was saying to me, I don't know where you're going. It's all right here. And I stopped. I couldn't, I just stopped and like watched it for 5 minutes. So I was even more late, you know. And then I didn't tell my editor why I was late, but I would now, because that's
wow.
what it's all about. So we can do this, when we see these things that touch us, that even if it's a bird call or the sudden shimmer on a window, it's not just natural thing. This is where Walt Whitman was the first poet who treated cities and human-made structures like trees in nature. He saw the same beauty in it. He said, "Oh my God, this is stopping me. I got to stop and be with it." So we can, by little steps, we can start to build, and this pertains to our modern world too, this whole nonsense that about not, what's true, nothing's true. Of course there are facts. I stick my hand in water, I know it's wet. No, yeah, I know what heartache is. I know what joy is. So by being present and direct, we build on our firsthand experience of life. Now, we can have interpretive conversations about what this might mean,
Hmm.
or how it happened or didn't happen. But no, there are facts.
Yeah.
Life is true.
Right. But the subjective experiences we have, that is up to us.
Absolutely. And that's why we're here, is to be in that conversation. So even the water, you and I could be by a river and stick our hand in, and then I can say, well, what was that like for you?
Mm, yeah. Because we'd all interpret it differently based on the lens we're viewing life through. So,
Yeah,
yeah. Mark, I know we've covered a lot of ground, but I definitely want to touch on this
sure.
beautiful metaphor that you cover in the book. So you talk about the meteor, right? And
Oh,
how
yeah.
it tends to kind of blaze through the atmosphere, the Earth's
Yeah.
atmosphere. And as it does that, it burns away. It actually becomes brighter in the process as it progresses. And you compare it to our experience of loss, heartbreak, and major life transition, and how that represents things falling away. Um, but it can actually make us more luminous
And I would,
if
and
we
I
are
would,
open to it. So please, can you
yeah,
give us
and how
more
you
insight?
describe it, Celine, is wonderful. And
Thank
I
you.
would back it up to say that it also represents, so as you said, a meteor, very few reach the Earth. And they do, as they go through the atmosphere, flake off till by the time they reach the Earth,
Mhm.
there's nothing left but light.
Yes.
And I think that gave me a way into this whole book, because I think that is the journey of a spirit in a body over a lifetime on earth. Is that over a lifetime, we experience, we grow, we fall, things flake off, and we just get brighter and brighter till there's nothing left but light. And though no one, no one likes the flaking off. I mentioned a year and a half ago, I went through this whole major back surgery.
Yeah.
Well, no, that, I didn't, sign up for that. That happened, but that was part of my flaking off, and I did get brighter for it. I did grow for it. You know, two very, and so this invites us always not to hop over the flaking off, the experience of being here on earth and all of its difficulty, and to stay open to how we're opened by it. So, there's a haiku. There was a man in the 1600s, Masahide, and he was a samurai who, toward the end of his life, put down his sword and went to study to be a poet with Basho, the master poet. And his famous haiku that he wrote during that time was, he said, "My barn having burned to the ground, I can see the moon more completely.
Hmm. Wow.
My barn having burned to the ground, I can see the moon more completely." And there you have it. So it doesn't mean, man, the barn burning down is a loss. It's difficult. Maybe you built the barn. Maybe it was in the family for 300 years. There's no skipping over that learning. And the paradox is, now that it's burned down, I can see more of life. I can see the vastness. I'm closer to life, paradoxically. And and so, for me, when I was sitting right at this chair during the chronic pain of my back, because I wanted to be in my study. I could have worked downstairs at our dining room table, and it took me like 25 minutes to get up the stairs every day. And sitting here, I didn't know where this was going. The surgery wasn't scheduled yet. Um, I had fear, I had pain, but I had to, Celine, at some point, I had to ask myself, okay, everything in life is not scared and afraid. It's me with good reason. So I had to start asking myself, Where's the nearest thing to me that's not afraid and not in pain? And it was literally the floor under this chair, and the ceiling, and the sky above our home, and the earth under the foundation of our home. So enlarging our sense of things always helps us hold the pain and the fear. And that became a practice every day. I had to feel the fear, I had to feel the pain, and then I said, no, the floor is not afraid. The floor is not in pain. That ceiling's not in pain. Thank God the whole world's not in pain because I'm in pain.
Mm. Wow.
And these are enlarging our sense, being who we are so we can be open to everything around us, larger than us, deeper than us.
Yeah.
And that's how it helped. And practicing that helps minimize the noise.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's accessing that sense of awe. You know, that's been a portal for me my whole life. Just simply looking at a night sky, that is also something that's helped me
Yes.
gain perspective when I was in pain, when I felt like I was just distressed with something going on in my life.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah.
And again, it's not cheer up, it's not reframe, it's not rationalize, it's deepen and widen
Yeah.
so that we can hold and feel more.
Mm. Mark, thank you so much for a rich and thoughtful conversation. I mean, I've said this before in our previous interviews. I'm going to say this again. You are
Uh,
immensely gifted. The
oh,
way you
thank
see
you.
the world, the way you see life is just, I don't know. It's so beautiful and poignant the way you phrase things, and it's just such a pleasure to speak to you and to see life through your eyes. Thank you so much for
Oh,
gracing us again, gracing.
oh, thank you, Seline. Well, you be well. I'll look forward to next time.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I want to let the listeners know that if this conversation resonated with you, please do check out Mark's new book, The Fifth Season. It's a deeply insightful read on navigating change and finding meaning through it. You can also learn more about Mark's work and his other brilliant books on his website, marknepo.com. The link will be in the description.